So thank you everybody for being here today. We're all very excited to welcome a great chef to the Google office. He just released a new cookbook, which if you want is back over in that table. You can see it up here. He's going to be demoing two recipes for us, the crab cakes and the pumpkin salad. So if you have questions, we'll do a Q&A towards the end, but throughout, just enjoy, learn, and have fun. So thank you.
Thanks. So both these recipes are in the book, and they're really very easy, and I encourage people that if you like food, I always encourage people to kind of get outside your comfort zone once in a while and do something you've never done before. And these are really easy recipes that are pretty doable. And I think with a little bit of patience, a good bottle of wine, and some time, you can figure these out. So, and they're very seasonal. So this is kind of from the fall section of the book. It's with pumpkins, obviously. Pumpkins you see everywhere now, to nauseam. They're in every store has a pumpkin. And the smaller ones are called sugar pumpkins, and they're a little bit sweeter. They're really good. And the lettuce we're going to use is called frisee, which is a little bit bitter. It's a little hardy lettuce. It's in the chicory family. It's kind of got a sweet bitterness to it, which is really good. And then, ricotta, cheese, and a real simple vinaigrette. And I'll kind of explain each section as we go along, and then we'll get to taste it. But, everyone as a kid, you carve pumpkins, you cut the top out, you scoop the seeds out, and you toast the seeds, hopefully. But I'm just going to show you kind of the chef way, how you kind of tackle a pumpkin. And just, they can be really delicious. So, really easy. Just cut the top off. We cut the bottom off. And really that's just so it sits flat so it doesn't wobble too much on you. And everyone should have one of these in their house. These are just it's a really good vegetable peeler. Really heavy duty, really sharp, really great thing to have around for shaving cheese or anything. And these are strong enough, they'll actually peel a pumpkin. Thanks very much. And this is a lot easier than trying to take a knife and peel it from the outside. It's a lot safer. So you peel the pumpkin like you're peeling an apple. It's a little thicker skin, and sometimes you got to go over it twice. But that just gives you an idea of how easy that can be. Just peel it all the way down. So I'm not going to peel the whole thing, but it just gives you an idea. And then we're going to cut it. And then for this recipe, I cut it in usually 4 or 6. This is a little bit bigger, so we probably cut it into 6. But first we cut it in half, then in half. And then what we want to do is just scrape the seeds out. And there's actually, you can see there's a lot of seeds in a pumpkin, and they're really delicious. So you just scrape it all out. And then from that part, what we end up doing is, before we cook it, from here what we do is take this piece, cut that in half, and then we just cut it into little wedges, like this. And then from here, you can see how easy that is. From here we just toss these in a little olive oil and we bake them. And this is what they look like at the end. Now you don't want to bake them so much that they're mushy, but they're soft so you can eat them cold in a salad. And they pick up the flavor really nice, and they have great flavor, great color. They're really beautiful, kind of autumn color. So that's kind of what that looks like. And then the seeds, a little bit of the trick is, if you actually scrape all the seeds and then you put this in water and just mix it around, all the seeds separate from everything else, and you just peel them off the top. And once you get the seeds and you rinse them off, and you see how easy they separate, and you rinse them off and you dry them, and then we toss them in a little bit of butter and toasted cardamom, and you toast them. And that's what they come up with. They're just really little crunchy pumpkin seeds. They're absolutely delicious. And it's really easy. So to kind of make the salad, again, it's just simple autumn salad. Our frisee. And that's the root where it grows into the ground like that. Just trim that end off. Trim a little off the top where it might be a little wilted or beat up from handling. And then I just cut it in half. I'm just going to spread it out. Oh my God, it's so easy. So here it is, our roasted pumpkin, our frisee. And this vinaigrette is we took curry and we put dried curry powder in a dry saute pan, and you put it on a low heat and you toast the curry. And as it starts to get hot, and it'll start to change the flavor, and you smell this great kind of toasted curry aroma. And as soon as you start to smell and see that toast a little bit, you pour olive oil over it, let that warm up, and then you set it to the side, and you just let that all kind of steep together, and that's how you get curry oil. So this is just curry oil and lemon juice. That's all this is, really simple. And we just drizzle just enough to coat everything. You don't want it to be soupy. And then this here is just ricotta cheese, a little bit of cream to thin it out, a little chili flake. Now chili flakes add a little bit of spice to it. If you don't like that spice, don't use them. And you just want to thin this out a little bit creamy. And we season everything. Now salt is kind of it's a great tool. You don't want food to taste salty, but salt helps kind of bring out the natural flavors of most any food. And without, you won't taste the salt. It doesn't have to taste salty. So a little bit. And again, if you don't like curry, don't use curry. You can just use lemon juice and olive oil. If there's another spice that you like cumin or coriander might work really well in this if you want to kind of mix up the spice. There's no rules. The food police will not show up and arrest you if you use the wrong spice. So to make a plate of salad like this, it's so easy. We just put a little bit of ricotta on the bottom of the plate, spread that around, and that's going to be kind of the base of the salad. And then in here we have our pumpkin, our frisee, and our dressing, and we season with a little bit of salt. And I normally season with salt and pepper because pepper is a little bit spicy, and since I have the chili flake in here, I kind of held back on that. I just don't want too much, heat or spice in there that might fight with the other flavors. So then we just kind of build it a little bit high. We want it to look confused but organized, as we say. And then our toasted seeds, and we just over the top. And then if you're really trying to impress somebody, make it fancy. We just drizzle a little bit of vinaigrette around the outside. And if you kind of notice, I think one thing about this dish is it has all those earth tones that kind of are associated with autumn. The orange pumpkin and the toasted brown seeds and the yellows and the deeper greens. I mean, that kind of looks like fall on a plate. So that's really it. So that's kind of what our sugar pumpkin salad with toasted seeds and curry taste looks like. And we're going to taste a bunch. Sure. Great. Come on up and try these, guys. Do we have forks? Okay, so we're going to do, the next thing we're going to make is, it's really simple. We're going to make a crab cake. And again, I think it's a really simple recipe. It's in the book. I think it's something that's really doable. It's something that it's not that bad to make at home. This is a great holiday one if you're cooking around the holidays because you can make these a day ahead, keep them in the refrigerator for a day or two. They keep really well. Once they're made, they're pretty easy to serve. So really easy. But really, what it starts with is this is Jonah crab meat, which is a local crab here to New England, usually northern New England, from kind of the Cape up through the Gulf of Maine. Is where Gulf of Maine and up towards Canada is where most of them come from. And it's one of the smaller kind of commercially caught crabs. When you think of crabs, you think Alaskan king crab. What's that show? Deadliest Catch. Those are kind of what most people think of crabs. So those are sometimes 6 feet across span. These are called Jonah or rock crabs, which are about this big, and it's a little bit more work to get the meat out of the shell than it is some of the larger ones. But it is local. It is really good. I always encourage people to try to source out fresh crab meat instead of, and you can make this with most any kind of crab meat, but if you buy pasteurized or anything like that, generally you lose some of the flavor. It gets a little watery. So this time of year, and especially food shops and fish markets, fresh Jonah crab meat is available. So it's just really simple. I picked it for shells, squeeze the moisture out. So we just have some dry, straight up crab meat here. We're going to mix in a little bit of mayonnaise. This is just chopped cilantro. And again, if you don't love cilantro, don't use it. Use an herb that you like fresh dill or chives or rosemary or parsley. Anything like that is really good in there. This is just a little red bell pepper and red onion minced up. We use a little bit of that. An egg. And I'm not going to quite use a whole egg because it's just a small batch, but egg is just really used as a little bit of a binder to kind of hold it all together. A little bit of fresh lemon juice, a little bit of lemon zest. So if you don't have one of these at home, you should. This is it's called a microplane, and they come in fine grating like this, and they do bigger ones. This is great. So great for kind of zesting fruit, really easy. And then if grating cheese over top of stuff, if you burn your toast, if you run this across it, it cleans it right up. In our kitchens, don't tell anyone, it's our secret. But if you burn a piece of fish on the edge, you scrape this across the burnt edge of the fish, it cleans it right up. It's a pretty cool tool to have around. And we seem to go through a lot of them because I'm always looking for one. So a little fresh lemon zest really makes it bright. And then this is just Tabasco, and Tabasco is hot and vinegar, so it's a vinegar sauce, so it adds acid, which like salt kind of helps flavors pop out, and a little bit of heat. And I don't want it to be hot, but a little bit of heat in the background there helps develop some of the other flavors. You never want to taste the Tabasco, but it should be in there. A little salt. We mix this together. So really what it is, it's about 50% crab meat, 55% crab meat, and then 45 to 50% of everything else combined. So you really want at least half or more of crab meat. All mixed in there. See, it's a little bit wet, but that's okay. It's seasoned well, everything's in there, nice proportion. And these are panko breadcrumbs, which is they're sold everywhere now. When I started cooking years ago, like there's only specialty stores had them. It's just a Japanese white breadcrumb, really versatile, really easy to find, easy to use. And we just fold in a little bit till we get the consistency of the crab cake that we want. So where it's moist but not sticky, and it'll still hold together. And again, if you don't like peppers, don't put peppers in. If you don't like Tabasco, don't put Tabasco. Sriracha is really good in there. I really encourage people that, like, when you're cooking at home, just do stuff that you like. Follow a recipe so maybe sometimes you understand how something works. But after that, make food that you want to eat. Okay, so you can kind of see it coming together. And that's about right where we want it, where it's coming together, it's a little damp to the touch, but it's not sticky. Let those breadcrumbs kind of soak in. And then it's called a ring mold, and every kitchen has a gazillion of these thrown throughout the kitchen, different sizes, and this is what, you make things, it's really easy. This is a great thing to use because you get the right size. And you want everything, one of the most important things in a restaurant is consistency. So if 4 of you were eating dinner in a restaurant and you all ordered the crab cake and one was bigger than the other, everyone would be like, what's that? So this is built for speed and consistency. So I know when they're making crab cakes at work, they know to put breadcrumb in, fill this thing up, breadcrumb on top, and it's the same every time. So that's, one of our little tools. A little breadcrumb in the bottom of this. We just pack the ring mold. Really push it down so it all comes together. And then do a little breadcrumb on top. There's some recipes that where you bread crab cakes, where that's kind of a different process, is where you take the crab cake, you roll it in flour, then you roll it in eggs, and you roll it in breadcrumbs, and you can do that too, and they come out wonderful. This is just a little easier, and I think the best part about crab cake is the crab. And sometimes if you have too much breading on there, you don't get enough of the crab. So I just bread the top and the bottom and get that nice and crispy. So it's crispy on the top and the bottom, hopefully. And then, you have a nice, creamy crab middle. So that's really it. And then we try not to burn it. So I got this a little hot, but vegetable oil or canola oil really is what you guys should cook with at home. Don't cook with olive oil. So if you buy a nice olive oil is not meant to be cooked with. So it's called, you can see how you see that smoking. So that's called a flash point oil. So if oil gets too hot and it starts to break down, the flavor starts to really change, is when it's smoking. Olive oil isn't meant to be cooked with, it's meant to be made dressings with and drizzle over the top. Because olive oil, if you ate a spoonful of olive oil, it has a unique flavor. It's pleasant. It's meant to be eaten on its own or dressed over top of the stuff. Vegetable oil, not so much. it's meant to be cooked with, so the temperature can get hotter. Just gonna let that get crisp. Oh my God, that's so easy. So you can see how just nice and even, so enough oil in there where the entire thing's coated on the bottom. Get a nice crispy crust. And what I would do when you're making these at home at this point, from there you throw it in the oven. You flip it over, you got a nice brown on top, nice even, beautiful golden brown. You throw it in the oven, it'll brown on the bottom and it'll warm through. If I browned it on the stove on both tops, it'd be hot on top and bottom and crispy, but it'd be cold in the middle. So from here, in the oven for a few minutes, let it get warm all the way through, and you're ready to go. Super easy. I know everyone's gonna go home tonight and make crab cakes, I can tell. So, let that cook another second. So one of the things we paired this with in the book is we did squash, and I think in the book it's Hubbard squash. I don't remember every last detail of every recipe, but I remember most of them. So Hubbard squash is a local squash, it's kind of a funny shape to it. It's called an heirloom squash, which means it's a really old variety. I mean, most of the squash that you see in the store are, you know, your typical butternut squash or acorn squash, you know, which look like a large acorn. Just never buy those again, ever in your entire life. Just promise me that if you'll do one thing. There's so many more interesting, flavorful squash out there in the world that just have amazing flavor. I mean, you could do this we do a little squash puree with this and pickled chilies. If you did this with pumpkin or Hubbard squash, or there's these big funky ones called Long Island cheese pumpkins, amazing flavors. There's all kinds of stuff out there that have much better flavor than butternut. They have this rich, deep, earthy fall flavor that are amazing. Nothing against butternut, but there's lots of cool stuff out there. Really simple. If you think about fall, you know, think about fall flavors. You know, as the weather kind of turns cold, and boy, we've had a really mild fall, but I mean, for all of us, like, what you want to eat and what you kind of, and it changes. You start to crave things that are warm and hearty and nurturing, and these are kind of just some of those things that make you feel really good about eating. And I think and then in the summer you crave tomatoes and you crave corn and all those things. And in the fall and the winter, the colder it is and the more the weather changes, and that's kind of unique to New England. And that's what we kind of talked about in the book, how, you know, as the seasons change, you want to eat different things, and as a cook or a chef in a kitchen, you want to cook different things. You get to work and use these different things, and that's, you know, there's seasons everywhere, obviously, but what happens in New England is truly unique. That's where it's a region that's so defined by the seasons, and we're so defined what's available to us throughout those seasons. So these are just some, and what we do is we talk about in the book the guys who grow stuff, who brew stuff, who catch stuff, and how that ties back to the restaurants and how they bring it to us, and how that kind of changes what we cook and eat throughout the year. So that's what, and this is just kind of a couple small examples of that. So please grab a crab cake and try one, and hopefully they're not bad. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to hang out over there and sign books for a few minutes if anyone's interested, and thank you guys for coming down.